Many people have been living so much by the cultures defining what you ought to do. I mean, I got to be a Harvard professor by doing what I ought to do. And even then, I was doing what I ought to do to be a good Harvard professor. And it was only when I took mushrooms and I connected to something in myself that was true. It wasn't somebody saying I ought to be this, it was what I am. It was a certain quality of amness or isness. And I remember the moment when I was being thrown out of Harvard. When the chairman of the department and the dean had said to me, "We can't save Tim Leary, he's too crazy, but we'll save you. If you'll just shut up, we'll save you because you're running a lot of programs and we need you." They thought they did. They found they didn't, of course. And so there was a faculty meeting at which they were discussing the irresponsible nature of introspective research, which was the way they were getting us. And all of our colleagues got up and denounced us roundly. And at the end, there was silence. And Tim was shocked because he thought everybody agreed with him all the time. And I remember feeling the moment that the society was telling me how I ought to be in order to something. But the inner truth was so deep in me that I was connected and that I couldn't control. I stood up and I said, "I'd like to answer on behalf of our project." And the chairman looked at me and I looked at him, and that was it. He couldn't save me anymore. And I remember the moment of choice. I mean, of illusion of choice, by the way. Don't kid yourself, it's not that great. I remember that moment at any rate, and the interesting experience of realizing how rarely I had trusted that inner place in myself in my whole life. I mean, you could look at this from a cultural point of view is he took drugs and he went psychotic. And then he didn't play the game of society and he got thrown out of a major social institution. And there was a moment when I got thrown out when they had a big press conference and all the people were there and they were all looking at me like I was this great loser because I had taken on Harvard and lost. And what had happened to me inside was so deep and so true that to deny it would have been impossible for me to go on with my life. And I looked and I thought, I mean, I was a psychologist and a psychotherapist, and I thought everybody was looking at me like a loser, and I was thinking, I've won. I thought, this is the definition of psychosis. They're all crazy. And I was right. See how much sugar you can get if you don't watch out. The beauty of a true spiritual journey is that it keeps unfolding from inside yourself. If you just wait a little longer, you'll see how hungry you are for integrity in your being, for a certain quietness, for certain clarity, and